Hello, everyone. It's the ADHD gamer here, the one and only gamer who has ADHD. That was a bad joke. I'm here to give my take on Red Dead Redemption 2. If you're an ADHD gamer like me, maybe you'll find this review helpful, or maybe you won't. Who knows? To give a little background, in case you're living under a rock and don't know what Red Dead Redemption 2 is about, it's a game where you get to be a cowboy in the Wild West, basically, and do cowboy things. I thought I would revisit this game since Grand Theft Auto 6 is on the horizon and give my take on it. The game opens up and it starts off in a prologue that is like 2 to 3 hours long that explains some of the game's mechanics before the world opens up to you. It definitely feels a bit slow, though it does a decent job of explaining mechanics in the game that you need to know. The story starts off engaging as well. It all felt very cinematic. Though I wish it was a bit shorter. If you don't have much playtime in the day, it can take a day or maybe even two just getting to the actual open world of the game, which kinda sucks. But it isn't the end of the world in my opinion. You get a sense of the game's pacing, especially with movement and how everything is slow and deliberate and very cinematic. When the world does open up to you, man, is it alive. It's so well detailed, immersive, and just beautiful. This game was released in 2018, and right now, while I'm making this video, it is 2025. 7 years later, and the world is still very impressive. Your beard gets longer as time progresses. You get dirty if you don't shower or submerge yourself in the water. There are weather cycles with some beautiful looking thunderstorms as well as day and night cycles. And not only is there day and night cycles, but some side quests, depending on the context of the side quests, are only available during the day and some are only available at night. The world is also filled with so much wildlife and things to explore. People react to you and your actions in a realistic way. You can basically greet just about anyone in the game and have a short conversation with them. There are random encounters that happen in the game that are extremely fun to do, that happen naturally while just traveling around the map. Though I will say, this feels like it gets less and less as the game progresses, and I wish it was paced a little better because you do travel and ride on horseback a lot in the game. Like, a lot. So these random encounters really add some sort of fun element to when you're traveling from one destination to the other. So let's talk about the story, the side missions, and side activities. I think one of the biggest highlights of the game, besides the immersive world, is the story. The story is amazing. The dialogue, the writing, the emotional depth of the characters, and seeing certain character arcs is just so rewarding. The story mission design, in my opinion, is a bit lacking and a little bit repetitive. Basically, you go somewhere, do something, have a cutscene or two, and then have a shootout where you shoot a bunch of people. There are definitely standouts, but yeah, it definitely does get a bit stale as you play in terms of different types of missions. It kind of feels like it starts meshing together as like a simple formula. The side missions are mostly good, with a few exceptions. I was always engaged in them, and they have a good diversity and were fun to complete for the most part. Though I will say I do not give a fuck about collectibles in the games, and I don't know why games still add them. I personally think it's so boring to include and play, and I know some people love them, but I really do not care for them at all and think they're hella lame. I did really enjoy the different types of mini games you can play in Red Dead Redemption 2, but I was so disappointed in the poker. I mean, I love poker, and there's no real high stakes poker in the game except for like one story mission. So it kind of annoyed me. Like, you can actually rob illegal high stake poker games, but you can never participate in them. And that really sucks. I love poker and would love to participate in some crazy gambling, but it just wasn't available in the game. And to me, that was a major disappointment. So let's talk about focus and session lengths and the pacing of the game. Things that involve more ADHD aspects of my review. This game, in my opinion, is best played if you have at least 1 hour or preferably more. The pacing and movement is just so slow, and moving around the map can take a while to do. So whenever I had shorter sessions, I just felt frustrated since I wasn't able to do as much as I would have liked. I know fast travel is available in the game, but it's you have to first unlock it, and once you unlock it, there's certain things you have to do, and it's not accessible like anywhere you are. And there's also another cinematic camera mode you can use while traveling, but I didn't find myself using this camera mode often either. You basically just stare at your character just riding a horse in beautiful scenery, but like, and it's very cinematic, but at the end of the day, I'm playing a game, not watching a movie. So I didn't find myself using that much, especially since I feel like it was annoying to switch off the cinematic mode if there was a random encounter. But that's just my opinion. There are mini games that I suppose you can indulge in for shorter play sessions, but I still find like no real sense of progression or reward when you're just playing a mini game for 45 minutes. Sometimes you just want to hunt a particular animal to unlock like a new satchel at camp, and then you spend like 30 minutes just looking for like a 3-star animal to hunt for your upgrade. To explain that briefly, different animals of like the same species can have different stars that rate how good like the pelt would be if you shoot them and skin them, and you need like 3-star pelt animals for most of your satchel upgrades. Let's talk about the gameplay of the game now. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2 has a really tight and good shooting gameplay, and the guns are actually really fun to use. I tend to turn on free aim and turn the aim assist to like 1 notch above like nothing, and tend to have the most fun on this setting. Despite this, the game does still feel a bit easy, and that isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, but is something to keep in mind. There is mechanics in the game where you basically have cores that you have to keep up with, which include health, stamina, and like Deadeye core. Briefly to explain it, Deadeye is basically a mode or like ability you have to slow down time and like shoot people. And the cores are kind of neat, but at the same time, kind of passive. Like, maybe it's just me, but I would have loved to have like a survival mode or something where these cores play a much bigger role and have to eat more and constantly keep yourself stacked with food supplies. But maybe that's just me. You also have horses and bond with them. For example, feeding horses, patting them, brushing them, all increase your bond with them. And each time you increase your bond, you unlock new tricks with the horse. I did enjoy feeding and brushing my horse as well, because it feels like you actually get to bond with them. And just a warning, these horses can die, so be careful with them because you will not get them back. There is a lot of horseback riding in this game. It kind of is a horseback simulator in ways, except there's not as much depth to it as I would like. If they, like, in my opinion, if the developers want the player to ride on horseback a lot, make it more engaging and fun to do so. You can unlock new tricks and stuff when bonding with the horses, but it also feels kind of empty. It doesn't feel like it adds anything meaningful to the experience, especially when so much of the game is dedicated to riding around and exploring. And the issue is, like, even though you're traveling a lot on horseback, random encounters really help in making traveling a lot more fun. But as you progress through the game, like the random encounters just kind of slow down, like they're not as frequent, not as diverse. Um, and so that was pretty disappointing. And I started feeling it a lot the more I played and the more I progressed into the game. Um, and I know you can fast travel, but like I said before, it's very limited and kind of ruins the point of random encounters. So I would have preferred just to have like a more fun or more engaging or in-depth horseback riding. Um, However, they decide to do that. Obviously, I'm not a developer for games, so I don't know how they would go about that, but I'm sure they could have come up with something. There's also a first person mode available, and it's pretty cool in the game, but it's not good enough for me to use regularly, especially when running. When you run, it's just a mess controlling the character in first person, and I'm not like prone to motion sickness or anything, but like I was feeling it a little while running, and it also just controls really weird when you're running. But if you're just standing there and shooting, it does actually feel pretty good. So let's talk about the dopamine loop. Um, Despite the game having good shooting mechanics and gameplay, I feel like the dopamine loop and rewards you get in the game is seriously lacking. The game has multiple ways to earn money and do activities, but in my opinion, there isn't a real incentive to do any of them. You earn plenty of money if you just keep playing the main story, and once you have a bunch of cash, there isn't really much to do with it that feels meaningful. Don't get me wrong, buying a faster horse or a cool new gun is awesome, but there just isn't enough guns or horses, in my opinion. They're also generally not that expensive. Besides like a couple of horses, you just have you just get plenty of money from the story missions to purchase whatever you want. And in my opinion, the guns, well, not necessarily guns, the horses don't impact the gameplay as much as I would like. Besides like the speed, the rest of the things you can just purchase are just cosmetic, which is definitely cool to customize Arthur, but it's just not enough for me to want to engage more in the side content. Even the camp upgrades, it just feels like first of all, you can upgrade all of them so early in the game, and then you're just kind of done. Besides doing cosmetic things for the camp, um, I want there to be more incentives for me to go out and rob somebody or rob a bank or break into somebody's house at night and steal cash. But because I have so much cash and not enough things to buy, I really never was like motivated to actually do it, which I really want from this game. I want this game to have some sort of incentive to get more money, to keep doing these things, to buy really cool things that actually have like a significant impact on the gameplay and how you play. But I feel like most of the things you can just purchase are just, well, cosmetic, and the ones that aren't, you can easily get if you just play the main story. Obviously, it's fun robbing banks or stores or breaking into homes, but the payoff is just not enough. You kind of get whatever after a couple of times you do that. The gameplay never feels like it evolves during the game. Like, you're never playing the game and unlock like, whoa, like that's such a sick new ability I got. I can't wait to use this to really change up the experience. You don't really get any of that. Obviously, the Deadeye does evolve somewhat, but not in a meaningful way where it impacts the gameplay. Uh, so to me, it was like whatever. The experience is kind of the same from the beginning till the end, and that to me is really disappointing. I want an addictive loop where I want to rob people so I can get enough money to buy that cool new gun or unlock some new meaningful gameplay that makes it more fun, that makes me want to engage in side activities like robbing people or breaking into homes or robbing banks or whatever, or betting in poker. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really motivate me that much to do any of those things after I've done them a couple of times. The most fun I did have was towards the beginning where the story missions weren't giving you that much money. I really wanted to engage in the side content then and loot people to get as much money as possible. And I was very excited to see what I'll be able to buy. Only to be disappointed in in the amount of guns available in the game and the amount of horses available in the game. And yeah, it was just disappointing to me on this front. I did love crafting explosive ammo in the game, but once again, you don't really need that much money to do that. You just need money for the ammo, and then the rest of the ingredients you get from hunting, which is a loop of its own, and that's fun, but that's not really like the main part of the game, you know. I just felt like they could have done a lot better with the incentives and ways to evolve the gameplay, especially with a game that is so long, that changes so little while you play. Maybe it's just me, but I definitely was let down by this aspect. It definitely hurt the gameplay experience for me, especially towards the second half of the game. It just felt like, okay, now I'm just playing because the story's awesome, but I don't really have this cool gameplay loop or where I'm being rewarded and I want to engage in a lot of side activities. So I don't know. For me, that aspect was a little disappointing. So yeah, um, keep in mind I do actually have ADHD, so your this review may not you may not resonate at all with it. Even if you do have ADHD, it's just my opinion. It was kind of hard to focus, especially the second half of the game. It kind of started feeling like a chore to play the game. Kind of felt boring. The traveling kind of got like, oh, I have to go all the way across the map, you know, and there's not that many random encounters going on, and like, and even if I earn a bunch of money doing this, like, what am I gonna buy, you know? I mean, it is cool to pimp out Arthur with like cool looking guns and clothes, but that only took me so far for me, personally speaking. I know a lot of people love this game and it is a masterpiece in its own right. It just wasn't for me. So ultimately the verdict is that no, Red Dead Redemption 2 cannot handle the ADHD gamer.